was it. Obviously, I'm not home right now. I'm at my parents' house in the Chicago suburbs, and I just saw it. Oh God. Won't lie, this film might be one of the scariest things I've seen in a while. Like, I'm generally kind of scared of the dark at the moment. I've never been afraid of the dark, ever. Just never. This could be it. One of the biggest questions that me and my friends had was, if he feeds off of fear, why kill anyone at all? Good question. Just something to ponder on while we go into this review. I'm going to start off spoiler free. Basically, the story is about a group of kids who are being terrorized by it, and basically he feeds off of their fears, no matter what that fear may be, and it can take different forms, which I didn't know. I thought this would just be a thing about a fear of clowns, but psychologically this film is about different phobias, different fears, and it plays on them very well. Each one of my friends I was with, we had and have different fears. None of us are afraid of the same thing. So it was always one form that got us. Always one form. For me, I don't like distorted images, distorted things. I don't like when things are like not how they should be. So the scene with him coming out of the projector being really huge was like, it was really scary to me. And the worst part is, me and my friends, the seats that we got were like 2 rows from the front. As the film goes on, it's a really long film, about maybe 2 hours and 18 minutes. As the film goes on, it seems like it is trying to let you know the fears of each person, and later on in the film it starts to kind of rehash a few themes of the beginning. As you get to know each one of the characters, you start to like most of them. Some of them aren't as fleshed out as they should be, because I mean, you only got 2 hours. This usually was like a mini TV series or a book, so they usually have a lot more time to flesh out everybody. But regardless, you still enjoyed most characters. As you get towards the end and you get to the final confrontation, you start to wonder, why haven't the characters learned anything? That's where the film starts to lose its intelligence. Is you start to wonder, why haven't they learned anything? We're making the same mistakes over and over and over. I can't really talk about this anymore without getting into spoilers, so here we go. And 3, 2, 1. The opening of the film is basically showing the relationship between Billy and his little brother, and it tries to get you to care, you know, about his little brother and everything. So his little brother is running out in the rain. You've probably seen it in a trailer. He has a little paper boat, and the paper boat is floating on the water because it's raining pretty hard. Where are their parents, aka the theme of this movie?
Where are their parents?
So his boat goes down into the sewers, and we get our first look at it. Whew. Oh, Pennywise. I've never been afraid of clowns, like never. But now, I don't know. So basically, he talks to the kid, and there's an old lady watching, and for some reason, the kid gets his arm bit off by it. This is the first time that I got really scared because I didn't know about the teeth. Going into this film as clueless as I was probably wasn't a good idea. So when he opened up his mouth and revealed more teeth, it creeped me out. That is a distorted image for me. That is my fear. So parts like that got to me. So he gets his arm bitten off and he's screaming loud. But this old lady, she didn't hear anything. Like, rain is loud, but the scream of death is a little bit louder. Okay. We get a look back at our main characters who are at school. And, I mean, Billy doesn't seem that bothered by it. We meet the bullies, these random bullies who just kind of bully people around. In the books, they were supposedly a lot more like a present threat, not just like a random nuisance that we just threw in every now and then. We meet Bev, who is my favorite character because she seems like the most fleshed out character, I think, of them all, if I could say that. She's the one that you actually get to know her home life, her past, and all these things about her. And she comes off as pretty fearless. She's one of the bros. And when I was watching this, I was like, wait a second. Is that like a grown woman playing her? Then I look it up. I feel weird. So they pour a bunch of sewer water on her because kids are mean and they just leave the bathroom. She meets the chubby kid who, he has really weird looking nipples. He has really weird looking nipples. I just had to get that off my chest. There's a scene with all of them in their underwear doing stuff with water. And she seems a little bit fond of him. And I won't lie. During this scene, how nice she was. My friend's like, what's wrong with her? I looked at him and said, she's a hoe. They slut shame her a lot in this film, so I'm not gonna presume anything. See how invested I got in her character? I'm like, I don't want to talk about her in a mean way. So as the film goes on, it starts to reveal himself a lot more to the kids, and one of the most scariest ones might be the little Jewish kid. He was at the church and there was this painting. I don't know why that painting would be at a church, like one that distorted. Her face is like, I can't even, it's like, I can't look at mannequin heads or anything anymore. That was just, it takes different forms. It takes the form of what your fear is. In one scene, a kid breaks his arm and it comes out with all these arms and like distorted, and he's just comes out of a refrigerator and it's midway through the film, Ben meets up with the loser club or whatever, and they become friends instantly over a hate for those bullies. The bullying in this movie, I won't say it was excessive, but it was very telling. It's almost like trying to bring a little bit more awareness to how mean kids are, because kids can be pretty mean. There was a lot of bullying in this movie, from girls, guys, just like there's just a lot of mean people in this movie, like there are in the world. It just kind of shows up randomly throughout the movie in different forms. Probably the least scary would probably be the version with him as like, almost like a zombie, kind of like. It looks like just a Walking Dead character. The first time that they go to the house is interesting to me because he's able to isolate them like pretty easily. Just isolates them one by one to get them alone, slam a door or whatever. One issue that I had with that part is one of the kids, he breaks his arm and he's not crying. He's not crying at all. Like, and it's like grotesquely bent, like here. And I'm just like, okay, are we gonna pretend that like a broken arm doesn't hurt? Any kid, 8 years old, younger, it doesn't matter how young you are, you will be like, ow, crying. But this kid's just like, And then they pop it back in place, and I'm like, that's not how forearms work. That's just not how forearms work. That wasn't his shoulder. One of the issues that I have with this film I was talking about earlier when it comes to learning your lesson is because Pennywise, the way he's able to get you to fear him is he has to get you alone. And for some reason, every now and then somebody's just like, I heard a sound over there. I'm not going to tell anybody, but I heard a sound over there. And it's like, didn't you learn last time? Haven't we established that when you're alone, that's when he gets you? He doesn't get you in groups. Even in the end, when the final encounter happens, when they all go to the house for the second time, he still, they still just, one will just be like, you know what? So the gang kind of splits up in the third act, angry because they let them into the house and that bad things happen. I think it was just a really weird reason to get them upset at each other. And the one thing that's able to bring them back together is Bev being kidnapped. The problem I have with that is Bev wouldn't have needed to be kidnapped to go to the house. Why couldn't they should have kidnapped somebody else. Anybody else. Bev did not need to be kidnapped to go to that house. Bill has a stutter, and I don't know if at times the movie wants it to be funny or I'm insensitive. In the end, when they're fighting Pennywise and they're starting to like kind of just beat the crap out of him and he's starting to take as many forms as he can, my favorite scene in this whole movie is once he has been beaten and he's near that hole and he's like, fear. And I'm like, that's his motivation. His motivation is to make people afraid and play on those fears. There are many phobias that come into this movie, from like agoraphobia. I don't know if that's the actual name of it, but there's one scene where Bev, after she cuts her hair, all of her hair comes up from the drain and grabs her. I won't lie, I laughed at this scene. You imagine you cut your hair and then all of your hair attacks you, and then this whole big amount of blood comes out of the fountain and goes all over the bathroom. And her dad comes in and says, what blood? Are adults not able to see that? Are they not able to see the things that Pennywise does? One sentence would have helped with that, just one. In the end, when they kill Pennywise, because obviously there's going to be a sequel with all the money that they're making, the kids that were killed or kidnapped, they start coming down from the ceiling, and you never know if those kids were actually dead. Were they? Were they alive and just floating like how Bev was? It's a plot hole, but it's like, it's a medium-sized plot hole. Not huge, medium. And it's not a small plot hole either. And once again, like I said in the beginning of this, the one plot hole that I see the most is, if you feed off fear, why kill anybody when you can just terrorize them constantly? When it comes to it, I'm going to give this a 8 out of 10. One last thing. That girl killed her dad, and now she gonna go live with her aunt. Cool. If you like this video, any of my videos, hit the like button, share on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and most importantly, I want you to laugh. I'm Elon Rich, and I'll catch you later on.
I'd like look at you walking in here looking all pretty and angry and mean and good. I know you didn't get your hair done so you can just sit down and just sit still.
Hey, we trying to have a good time tonight. Let's go, baby. Let's go.